This week's episode is brought to you by Jake's Battle Armor Taxidermy Emporium. Are you a leader on a moderately successful Periphery planet that's up to your necks in pirate incursions? Does it seem like hardly a week goes by without a dropship arriving full of nasty thieves and ruffians? Do you have a shortage of good people to defend your territory? If any of these questions are yes, contact Jake's Battle Armor Taxidermy today for a free quote. We'll send a team of our experts to you in order to find an affordable and effective solution to make your platoons look like regiments. The key is our trademarked faux battle armor system. For much less than it would cost to outfit a traditional soldier, we can create a lifelike facsimile that cannot be differentiated from the real thing, even at close range. But don't take my word for it, we have legions of happy customers. We used to be hit by pirates every few months, but ever since Jake helped us out, they done skedaddle right out of here to green your pastures. Thanks, Jake.
Ever since Jake helped us out, our settlement has seen a significant decline in the attention from ne'er-do-wells. Now we get to spend much more time down at the yacht club, can't we, darling?
You heard it here, folks. Don't suffer even one more day without the protection you deserve. Give Jake's Battle Armor Taxidermy Emporium a chance and let us make you look dangerous.
We also buy used and busted battle armor, body parts included. Contact us today.
Sorry about that. We have to pay the bills around here somehow. Today I want to tackle another fun 3 examples of battle armor. This time they're sourced from the Periphery. I think it's cool that these plucky little nations have developed to the point that they have started to create their own unique examples of technology. We all know that mechs and their other gear drives interest, so let's not leave it to just the great houses of the Inner Sphere and the clans, right? Our first entry is the sleek and savvy Spectre stealth battle armor, designed and built by the Protectorate Arms conglomerate on the planet Didik, within the Calderon Protectorate. Classified as a light battle armor, the Spectre weighs a petite 750 kilograms and is equipped with all the bells and whistles one would expect from the stealth designation. Almost half of the Spectre's weight is found in its improved Calderon Shield stealth armor, which provides decent protection at 6+1. Of course, the goal is to avoid being seen at all, let alone being hit. Stealth armor operates on battle armor much the same way as an ECM would, making the user nearly invisible to infrared scanning and other detection methods. It's so effective that only a Bloodhound active probe can reliably identify units using the stealth armor in field tests and battle reports. With a top speed of 43.2 km per hour, the Spectre is incredibly fast for battle armor. Though it lacks jump jets, it does have mechanical jump boosters, which allows the user to leap over walls, up ridges, and even up onto buildings. My personal rule for battle armor is that if you are pulling jump jets from a design, you have to make it count with some other specialization. I think the Spectre makes a pretty good argument with the use of stealth armor and the jump booster technology. Sure, it's not going to match an elemental's jump distance, but if you're being chased by one, you can still outrun it on the ground. On the left arm, the Spectre is equipped with a David Light Gauss rifle with 20 shots. While this is the only ranged weapon, the right arm is equipped with a Vibro Battle Claw, which can rend enemy armor or completely obliterate an unarmored human target. Finally, the addition of magnetic clamps allows the Spectres to ride mechs and vehicles and deploy quickly. The Spectre armor has a clear use for independent missions and for moving across front lines into the enemy's rear, where that Gauss rifle can be used to take out high-value targets or cause chaos amongst the logistics lines. Typically, they're not going to be seen together in large numbers, though there is a case worth discussing where they were. When mercenaries affiliated with the Taurian Concordat landed on Deek in 3105, they menaced the population for months without challenge. Eventually, a Protectorate captain by the name Jair Maldonado used what they had, which was a considerable number of Spectre battlesuits right off the production line, to build a posse regiment tasked with hunting down the mercenaries. Eventually able to track down the mercenary base of operations, the stealthy troopers snuck in and waited in ambush. When the mercenary command staff was spotted out in the open, the hidden troops opened fire with their David Gauss rifles. The combined fire cut down most of the Merc unit's leadership. Unfortunately, the suits were never intended for sustained firefights, and when the mercenaries rallied and brought in their battle mechs, many of the Spectres were cut down quickly. It was a valiant effort, and it did do some serious harm to the invaders, but ultimately the armor was tasked with something it really wasn't meant to accomplish. Wise battlefield commanders would do well to learn from this and make sure the Spectres are used to maximize their potential. One other notable use of the Spectre was by Colonial Marshal Lena Ray Jacobs on Herodotus. Since joining the Franc reaches, the planet's rough-and-tumble reputation has conflicted with the very strict legal standards from the Franc marshals. Marshal Jacobs has used her Spectre suit to great effect, hunting down criminals who had no idea such a potent weapon was out stalking them. Since their first production, Spectre suits can be found across the Periphery and the Inner Sphere. Even the Wolf's Dragoons run a Spectre squad for special missions where stealth is preferable to landing a regiment of battlemechs. Our next battle armor comes to us from our interesting friends up in the Marian hegemony. Produced by Marian Arms Incorporated, the Ravager Assault Battle Armor weighs in at 2,000 kilograms. Though at first glance it may not be the most aesthetically pleasing battle armor design, in only a few years following its first introduction, it became quite popular not just among the Marians, but with mercenary units, the states of the former Free Worlds League, and even beyond. The origin of the suit dates back to the Word of Blake's influential spread across the Inner Sphere. The Blakeists looked for opportunities to build their power out of sight of the major houses, and at the time the Marians were a pretty good target. The Blakeists offered to upgrade the Marian arms facilities on the planet Horatius. While this started off well, eventually Julius O'Reilly, the Marian Caesar, booted the Word of Blake out of his territory before the production lines could be fully finished. Throughout the Word of Blake kerfuffle, the Marians seem to have made the smart play and ended up not having their planets glassed with atomic weaponry. When word got out that the Word of Blake's days were numbered, many Blakeists discovered that they weren't so devoted to the cause as they once thought. They took off their uniforms, they took off their lab coats, and moved on to their merry way. That included Dr. David Roux, who showed up in Marian space offering his technical knowledge in exchange for safety. Cassius O'Reilly took him up on the deal and offered the doctor a research team and plenty of funding in exchange for a fully functional battlesuit program. The goal was to capture both the attention and the pocketbooks of the whole Inner Sphere. What ended up being produced starting in 3084 was an incredibly heavily armored battle armor with limited movement and very modest weaponry. Moving at only 21.6 kilometers per hour, the Ravager is not going to be winning any sprinting medals. Nor can it jump, which puts it right in Mechfrog's naughty pile, without significant payoff. In the right arm, the Ravager has a heavy recoilless rifle, which is pretty nice, along with 20 rounds of ammo. In the body, above the cockpit, sits two single-use rocket launcher ones. Where the Ravager excels is with its armor, which is mech grade and weighs in at 900 kilograms per suit. That's an 18+1 protection per soldier, and that's the most I've ever seen on a battle armor. Theoretically, being able to tank a PPC blast or a Gauss round must give the soldier inside a feeling of security lacking from most other designs. However, the trade-off of both speed and weaponry is substantial, so the state or mercenary unit purchasing the Ravager is going to have to decide if that level of protection is worth it. Personally, I think the Ravager would have trouble unless they were used in great numbers. Moving only 2 MP and not being able to jump makes hitting them a whole lot easier than the standard elemental or other types of battle armor. Of course, with that 18 plus armor, if you have a squad of 5, that's still going to require a considerable amount of investment from the attacker to take you down. It's possible that the other threats on the battlefield could take precedence and leave the Ravagers with time to make their recoilless rifle shots count. It seems that the market is the judge, as it usually is, and orders of the Ravager came flooding in. The Marians were happy to sell the battlesuit to anyone with money, as they're taking those funds and reinvesting them right back into the program. I would expect to see an updated version of it at some point in the Ill-Clan era. Our last entry in the Periphery Battle Armor Walkabout is also a product of the Marian hegemony. Things went so well with the Ravager, the Marian designers figured they could do one better by creating battle armor which would emphasize firepower over armor and speed. They don't really do anything halfway, do they? Due to popular request and the confines of this video's premise, I give you the Marauder Battle Armor. Weighing in at 1,500 kilograms, which places it firmly in the heavy class, the Marauder just barely escapes the designation of turret by moving a paltry 10.8 kilometers per hour. Thankfully, they didn't go too insane and cut armor too, There's still 450 kilograms of it, which is 9+1 for those playing the home version of Periphery Warrior. The armor has no hands or battle claws, but you won't need them because instead you have a support PPC with 15 shots and an anti-personnel weapon mount on each arm. Over the shoulder there's a light recoilless rifle with 20 shots along with the light version of the target acquisition gear. That's a lot of firepower for a single soldier to wield on battle armor. Now you might be asking, what good is all that weaponry if you can't get to where you need to go on the battlefield? The fine people at Marion Arms have you covered with the addition of magnetic clamps. Now you can ride into battle in style on the back of the armor or a battle mech, and then be dropped off so you can waddle away to your heart's content. Easy to maintain with a light recoilless rifle that is known for being accurate, the Marauder has a lot going for it. It's definitely not battle armor that you'd want to leave out on its own, but as part of a cohesive mixed arms unit, the amount of damage it can pump out can be devastating. First produced in 3110, the Marauder saw modest production numbers. It wasn't until 3117 on Landfall did the design have the opportunity to really prove itself. When a group of locals decided they didn't want to live under the Marion control anymore, they sought outside the system's support and took up arms. The 2nd Legio was called in to end the rebellion, and a significant portion of those forces were augmented infantry and soldiers with Marauders. Within the urban environment, the Legio took their time, as if they had any choice with the speed of the Marauder, and cleared out the buildings of anyone who could be considered a threat. As it turns out, the rebels were better equipped than expected, fielding 2 30-ton cadaver battle mechs. While the Marauders focused their fire on one of the mechs, the two forces faced each other down. Eventually, missiles, taking advantage of the tags the Marauders were using, cut through the first mech's armor and took it down. The second cadaver panicked and tried to run, crashing into a building and being knocked down shortly after with concentrated fire. What would have been an easy win for 2 battle mechs against infantry had turned into a rout for the rebels, who gave up their attempts to leave the bosom of the Marion hegemony shortly after. The Marauder battle armor is an interesting example of a specialized design with some really big positives and some rather glaring negatives. Battlefield commanders would do well to be very savvy and selective concerning their use. If you're the one going up against the Marauder battle armor, make sure you don't underestimate them and how much fire it's going to be needed to actually deal with them. With that, we're going to wrap up this little journey into the Periphery. Don't worry, as there's still plenty of battle armor units to cover in the future. We're just getting started. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit all the buttons with your free actions so that YouTube knows it's worth sharing with some new people. Big thank you to everyone who has and continues to support the channel's growth as we approach that 7,000 subscriber mark. Channel subscribers, members, and Ko-Fi subscribers are instrumental to making this grand experiment happen. Until we meet again, take care and go out and make the world a slightly better place today and tomorrow.